name is Mr. Marti, the CEO of the Minerals Commission. The Commission is responsible for the regulation and managing the mineral resources of this country. Our overall aim is to make Ghana the leading destination for mining investment in Africa and also to improve our competitiveness globally. Join me every Thursday 9:30 on Good Morning Ghana Metro TV to discuss all the issues that you need to know about mining.
This is our segment with the Minerals Commission, which comes off every Thursday morning from 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. We couldn't bring it to you last week for some reasons, but Mr. Martin Ayisi, who is the CEO of the Minerals Commission, is here with me again. Good morning to you.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm fine.
You're looking good. I'm good by the grace of God. I was reading about your exploits in Australia.
Oh yes, we came back with a lot of good news.
Okay, and there was this issue of a mine complaining about another mine, and then we read that the minister tasked you to deal with it. There's an Australian mine that says that Sanji and was accusing us, and then the next day I saw a report where the minister, in responding to it, said that he's tasked you, the Minerals Commission, to go into the matter and then deal with it.
Well, we are looking at it. It's something we are handling within the confines of the law.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And apparently they filed something outside. There's no process outside.
There's no process outside. Okay. There's a process that is ongoing here, which has been stalled.
What's the good news you're bringing from Australia? You say you're bringing some good stuff.
The good news is that the next 3 big mines that are coming up are from Australia.
In Ghana?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
When will Ghanaians be able to?
Well, that's why we are here.
Okay.
That's why we are. Yeah. Ghanaians are making a lot of inroads now. Yes, and when we start discussing some of the figures, you see.
So we'll get into the continuation of our local content thing, but all these Aisha Huang issues and all that. The president of the Small Scale Miners Association is granted an interview, and has made some serious allegations. I'd like to go through them and then get your response. Here's Michael Kojo-Pepra. I don't know if you know him. He's president of Small Scale Miners Association. Now, he's alleging that Chinese Galamsey Queen Huang Rusia alias Aisha Huang has been in the country for the past 2 years. Well, that's not for you to. His comment comes on the back of the rearrest and all that. Now, he says, as a matter of fact, Aisha Huang has been in this country for the past 2 years. She's been going around her normal activities, supermarket and mining activities. We saw her in the Ashanti region, and honestly speaking, she was working in a forest called Numiri Forest Reserve at Samanboy. He explained that she had a problem with a Chinese national, and that has brought about her arrest. If it wasn't that Chinese who had reported her, I don't think she'd be arrested and facing any charges from the state. According to him, there are Chinese nationals who are mining in Ghana's forest reserves under the protection of state security, such as the military, among others. Quote, there are 1,001 Chinese nationals and kingpins who are engaging in Galamsey activities in this country with the supervision of the state security. Go to Odahu Forest Reserve, Asasaman Forest Reserve, go to Numeri in Samaboy, you meet these Chinese nationals who are mining with impunity. He says Galamsey menace can only come to a halt only by a political will from the government to fight it head on. He added that the community mining scheme launched by the government is rather full of Chinese nationals, as if it was launched for the Chinese nationals. It is advised that for the Galamsey menace to end, government must arrest all these Chinese nationals and miscreants who are destroying our forest reserves and water bodies. Aisha alone is not the only Chinese who's engaging in Galamsey activity. So there's the Aisha Wang part, but he speaks about hordes of Chinese who are in our forest reserves, and he's mentioned some. I'm sure that you would know those places. He says Numeri Forest Reserve at Samanboy. He's mentioned Odahu Forest Reserve, Asasaman Forest Reserve. He says that the community mining scheme is rather full of Chinese nationals, as if it was launched for them.
Ronnie, thank you very much. Aisha, one, what I can say is, of course, first, I know of Ghana National Association of Small Scale Miners. I don't know of that association. But of course, if you look at the constitution, there's freedom of association, so we can have several of them. Yes. So that is that. And I don't know the individual personally, but of course, as a Ghanaian, he can bring issues to our attention. So first, let's thank him for bringing some of these things to our attention. One, I don't superintend over the forest.
Okay.
Yes, but of course, as a Ghanaian and the fact that I work in the industry, I'm concerned because when I also get any information, I'll pass it on to the Forestry Commission.
Please explain something to me.
Yes.
If you say you don't superintend over the forest, does it mean that you don't license those who mine in the forest?
Let me explain that.
Right.
For instance, if a mining operations has to take place in the forest, until the Forest Commission produce a report and that ends up with a permit, nothing can go on. Okay? So the Forestry Commission will have to follow their own rules, their own protocols, and then sign off and say, we are okay with mining or exploration taking place in this part of the forest. These are our rules. These are the conditions under which you should do them.
Then it comes to you.
Yes. Once they give you that, then you go to the next process. Maybe go to the licensing process, EPA, and then operating permit. So what we do, Minerals Commission, once you've been issued the license, is to go to where your operations are and ensure that whatever you are doing, you are complying with all the laws regarding mining and or exploration. Now, Forestry Commission will also have an arrangement with you and make sure that, look, if you cut this tree, maybe you do some offset and plant somewhere. So they also have their own regime. So it's a two-way kind of thing. So let's say if the inspectorate division at Kumasi, okay, goes to that part of Chirano, operation that falls within the forest. When they go there, they are going to inspect the mining operations to see whether they are complying with all the regulations and all the rules regarding what they are doing. Anything that has to do with the forest is handled by the Forestry Commission. But there's always that collaboration. So Forestry Commission say, look, before we give you this entry permit, these are the conditions. Maybe, because they will have done their report and say that, look, you may have to, we'll give you another place, you have to replant or do what they call offset or do X, Y, Z. So they comply with that. Do you understand that? But when our inspectors enter the mine, they're going to look at your installations, how you are carrying out the mining activities, etc. So that forestry bit, they'll deal with it. That bit that has to do with environment, EP will also come in. But we collaborate and work together. So when our inspectors go there and they find something, they tell EPA. Now we are even doing what we call joint monitoring to make sure that it becomes more effective. So that is what I can say. But so if I sit here and tell you that I can tell everything about the forest, no. Because you see, under the laws of Ghana, you can't get up and enter a forest without the permission of the Forestry Commission. Whether to go and fell firewood, go and hunt game, or do anything. That's the responsibility of the Forestry Commission. They are supposed to regulate and manage anything forest, not the commission. So if we are entering, so even if we are going for inspection, we have to let them know. Or else you could be mistaken as an intruder. That is it. So issues concerning that, I think they are the best. But you see, with this information, we can pass it on to them. That is it. That okay. And then on the community mining issues, let me tell you this. One, you cannot operate community mining without going through the Minerals Commission and it's being properly launched, like the one we did last week in Kenya, and then the government, signing off. There is done under the Office of Assembly, and then of course the chiefs are involved. Properly regulated, we do inspection, we monitor them. Maybe next week I'll show you pictures and videos of proper community mining scheme. I think I was showing them on GTV yesterday. So maybe next week, I'll spend the first 30 minutes to show you a typical community mining site, how it should look like. So that is it. Now, that is not to say that, because you see, what has come to our attention, and our district officers have picked that, where people illegally go and mount signboard and write a community mining, hide in there and do whatever they like. It's just like the way we are told that sometimes people write on their wall when they start these illegal structures, produce permits.
As if it's the assembly.
Yes.
Okay.
And then he's there hiding and all those things. Okay? So that has come to our attention. And then we pass it on to the security agencies. So there are signboards all over. They write, put the president picture, the minister, sometimes mean come Lego and say community mining. Just at the place there, and then they are there hiding, doing their illegal stuff. That's not community mining. So maybe that's what he has picked. But we welcome any information from Mr. Pepra to show us that this particular community mining site, it has been launched, and then Chinese are involved. As far as I'm concerned, I don't have that. Okay, but if they have any information, pass it on to us. Whatever he has said about those forests, I'll bring it to the attention of my colleague, Mr. Alote, for his people to deal with it. Because I have no right to enter the forest. I can't even organize an operation to enter the forest. I can't do that. Okay, it's a forestry commissioner that have to do that together, because they are even armed, together with the security agencies, and flush them out. But we welcome things like this. And this is what we have been saying. We cannot be everywhere. We cannot see everything. Okay? After all, the police, they work on intelligence. And a lot of crimes that have been prosecuted, or people that are being prosecuted for all kinds of crimes, whether police, national security, BNI, it's all type of information. So the Pepras and Co can send us this information. We'll pass it on. That is it.
All right. Okay. So let's come back to our discussion on the local content and local participation in the procurement of goods and services in the mining
And then
industry.
let me say this.
Yes.
I think Aisha has been arrested. I think she's been remanded also. And then what we read from the media is that there was no interpreter, so she was reminded. Now that she has been reminded, why don't we be patient for her to be taking due process?
Well, I guess that is informed by the fact that the last time we decided to be patient, when we heard they had filed a nolle prosequi and sent her out of the country.
That's okay. So yeah, so what do you want us to do? Put her, publicly and try her or whatever. So I think what everybody, including us, should be concerned about is to be following the whole process to see what is happening. You understand? And let's be patient. Okay? Yes. She will be giving her, she will have a day in court. She will hire lawyers. She should go and defend herself. The state will also.
What does that say to you in terms of all the work you're doing at snuffing out people involved in illegal mining? That this woman has sneaked in and she was back doing the same thing for which reasons she was supposed to get out of the country. And Mr. Pipra, for example, is suggesting that she had a tiff with another Chinese who then exposed her. But for that, she wouldn't even have been.
Well, is it information Mr. Pepper just picked or got wind of for which he wrote to you, or he himself is aware the guy has been arrested? Yes, but you see,
the point I'm making is that how do you feel knowing that with all the work you're doing, dealing with this illegal mining, that this woman who is supposed to be one of the gurus in illegal mining had come back into the country and was working as usual?
It's very sad. It's very sad. Okay, it's very sad. And some of us don't sleep. It's very sad. Okay, whilst we're working hard, we have a very hard-working minister to make sure that we sanitize the system. And then, government has given us money, millions of cedis and, if you like, dollars, to bring in this machine, give it to people. They've given us money to investigate geological areas, undertake geological investigation, and then assist these small-scale miners so that we take out these Chinese and these foreigners who are doing it wrongly. But of course, we must also not lose sight of the fact that you can't go into the water body. It's not an easy thing. It's quite complex. What I'll do is that maybe next week I can spend perhaps an hour and discuss the whole conundrum about small-scale mining, the complexity, what government is doing, and then how we can do, what we can do to get rid of it. It's not that easy. What worries some of us, like as a regulator, where I sit, is that you go to a whole community and everybody is doing it.
When is everybody? You mean?
From
the highs to the lows.
chief, the committees involved. There was one committee somewhere recently where, of course, there are good people everywhere, where they inform us that, look, some people want to come and do galamsey. So the officers rushed there and said, look, we've not sanctioned it. We don't know them. It is wrong. The chief will hear none of that. Yes, he was not prepared to cooperate. He will not listen. At a point in time, the town was divided into two because they've been compromised. I know what I'm talking about. I'm a lawyer, 20 years standing. So when I'm speaking, I know what I'm talking about. I've not mentioned any name, but we have the facts. And they are on tape talking about who took what. So then I realized why they are intransigent. Okay? And then there are some people in the community who were against it. They were just saying, look, we can't do this thing. Government has not allowed it. When we left, they brought the machines. We alerted the security authorities. They went, picked the machines out, took everything. I hear they are back. The intelligence I got yesterday that they are back. The structures that were demolished and taken away, they are setting up again. You see, clearly, this is a community that has the tacit support of, if you like, the chiefs and people who matter. To the extent that even one person was allegedly brutalized. That one call blow alarm. You are the one who went and leaked it. You see, so when you find that kind of scenario, it is not an easy thing. Then you also have chiefs who are wonderful. They walk to you and say, I am not going to allow. I told you there's a chief in Western region. You dare not. Okay? He has mobilized his people. So you are seeing two categories of, if you like, traditional authorities or communities. Communities that are wholly opposed and they will support us and they will fight anybody who come there. They will tell you once you don't have the requisite people. And they walk to our chiefs, they walk to our offices, they engage district officers, and they come. In fact, when I got in here, I hear one is waiting for me. He said he wants to see the guy himself and go through the document and see whether they are legit. If it's okay, he will allow it. You see, those ones, we are okay, we don't have any problem. But where you have the kind of scenario I described, where chiefs, okay, some community leaders and opinion leaders, the thing involves money. Look, this thing is like cocaine. It is thousands, if not millions of dollars. So you sit in there, a whole chief or an opinion leader, maybe the whole year, he's not seeing 5,000 Ghana cedis. Then they come, give them maybe 100,000 Ghana, 20,000 Ghana. Or even a cocoa farmer who, what he's being given, they call it goodwill. It's like what you harvest in 10 years. Randy, you can understand what poverty or what money can do to people. So sometimes, if you don't understand some of these little things, you think that it's just easy to go and, you go. There are communities all over the place. Everybody's involved. Life revolves around it. And people get angry. Okay? They have rented a place to the Chinese. They live with them. Even now, they are having children with them. So in such a community like that, you go there, they just laugh. They give them tip of Omaba. You go and do the operations, take all the machines, move them out. After a week or two, they come back again. So we have to be getting constant intelligence and constant report. So this area like this, they will go, the security will go again. We've alerted them, they'll go and clear the place. That's how bad the situation has become in some communities. It's like we have embraced it. This is our whole life. To hell with you. Okay? Yes.
This week we've had a very, very disturbing spectacle where two people who ought to be collaborating to deal with this issue, two institutions and two personalities. And I'm talking about the Western Region one. I'm sure you've heard it. A DCE and a district police commander. And the issue of two excavators. And the DCE saying that excavators are with the police. The police say, no excavators have been brought to us. We don't have custody of any excavators. The DC is lying. Later, we heard that the district police commander has been interdicted. Just yesterday, we were told that they've located one of the excavators deep in the forest, and that the DC and his people tried to intervene or prevent them. Is left to the coffin of a DC who's been arrested, together with his persons and all that. Now, you would think that these are two institutions that ought to be collaborating in the fight against Galamsey. Now, these institutions appear to be working across purposes. One, ostensibly to enhance the work of Galamsey, the other, not to.
Well, Ronnie, this is my comment. Again, I'm happy. You see, this brings to the fore the complexity of the whole thing. I don't have the full facts, and I don't want to jump into conclusion. And what we read from the papers is that the DC has been arrested. You are now telling me that the police commander has been interdicted.
I read it.
Yeah, what reasons, I don't know. But, I mean, let's allow the law to take its full force. Because, you see, both the district police officer is supposed to be a co-opted member of the district mining committee. And then the district mining committee is supposed to be headed by the DC or his rep, because he's the head of DISEC. So situations like this, if the full facts come by and turns out that, look, that is the case, maybe the DC is culpable or whatever, then it's worrying. Then so you're beginning to understand the situation on the ground. Okay? Yes, I'm not here to pass judgment on anybody, because I also have a lot of issues to deal with. But again, this brings to the fore the kind of complexity we are talking about. Please, DC.
How are you able to deal with the politicians who are involved in this? Because we've spoken about chiefs. We are told about politicians who are involved in this. I mean, we've had tapes, Marti Yasika, all manner of allegations against people high ranking.
Very simple.
Yes.
This is a story the press or the media has picked. They've named a DC. Okay? They've told us supposedly where the excavator has been found, police has been interdicted, whatever. What maybe the media and your thinker likes, or every Ghanaian should be interested in, where did we go wrong? I mean, what is going on here? Let's get into the bottom of the matter. Anybody who is found culpable should be punished. We should follow due process.
Do you get frustrated by the political class?
Oh, frustrated in which way?
I mean,
Like
in terms of
they stopping me from doing our work?
yes.
No, really. We tell them the hard truth, and they cooperate. Let me say this: I have a very wonderful minister, who is 24/7. Says, "Look, everything you want, do it for me." Okay. When he came, I told him that, look, if we don't do geological investigation, we can't move anywhere. For now, we are relying on grounds or tenements or land holdings that have been given to us by, what do you call it, large-scale people with a report. That's why we are licensing. And then small-scale miners, through their sheer efforts of industry, bring a coordinate. And then we prepare with licenses for them. The way to go is geological investigation. I told him, yes. The accounts will say, well, we got some money. We've get into geological survey. We are even bringing humans on board. We're giving them a vehicle. We are doing it. These things take time. So for now, the areas that small-scale miners are coming up, we'll parcel it out for them. Areas that are being surrounded by the large-scale, we'll parcel it out for them. That's what we are doing. But this is happening. I told you I joined Minerals Commission 20 years ago. Never in my history have we gotten money to do geological investigation. It is millions of dollars. That's what the geological survey people do it. The minister says, we have to do it, money is flowing. Then I told him, look, it's one thing giving the small-scale miners an area to mine. Even if you give them license, a good area, EPA, operating permit, etc., and say, go and start work, he has nothing. It's like a Kofo Kwama without catalyst or no spraying the Akati for him. They will still go for the Aisha One Group and Co. Give them some money, leave the site, the Chinese will come in. Because there are instances where people who have, all the approvals or authorization or permits are still involved in Galamsey, they still bring in foreigners. So he said, what do we do? I said, we have to bring them machine. And then I said, look, Minister, we are also a signatory to the Minamata Convention. We will need to do away with mercury. And then he said, okay, you have my full support, we'll get the money. Now, fortunately, we brought in 100 machines, which we are giving our last week in Kenya. See, the next 2-3 weeks or so, 5 areas will be launched. I'm assuring the public, I'll come and show you a typical small-scale or community mining site that should be done properly. So I have his support. And he has told me, anybody who is disturbing you, let me know. You understand? Yes. Nobody has come to me and say, look, bend the rules, do this in our favor. I'll just let him know. Okay, so he gives us all his full support and cooperation. I have a wonderful board chair who herself was once a deputy minister for mines and a member of parliament and comes from a mining community. So for my minister, for my board, I get all the support that I need. If you come now and tell me that I should give you license or we should process an area for you, which is not right because you are some political heavyweight, I'll tell you. And you have to go and deal with that. He will tell you no. So have his support. I can only speak for the institution I superintend over. Okay, but the small scale thing, we don't sleep over it. We cannot give up.
Okay, so let's come to legit business. And LI 2431. We were speaking about it a couple of weeks ago. You were taking us through all the opportunities that are involved in as far as our mining sector is concerned, and local content and the participation of locals. And you took us through the procurement list. And you started with the first one, second one. I think we're on the fourth now.
Yes.
Where the list has been expanded to 41. And the other time you took us through some 2 or 3 items, and of course the values of those things. I have seen the list here. I have the list of 41 here, and there are quite some interesting things. First thing I saw was grinding media. Do you know what caught my attention? Media.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, I know this has nothing to do with.
Maybe next week I'll show you some pictures of how some of these things look like.
Right.
Some of them you can just tell on top of your head. I mean, bolts and nuts and co. But
Yes,
perhaps the type that is used in the industry, we can show pictures.
So let's first of all start with the process. How does a Ghanaian or Ghanaian entity get to participate in the mining industry, either local content or local participation? I am a Ghanaian or a Ghanaian company. Or let me even put it this way. Who qualifies to participate in this?
Randy, before the qualification, you need to understand the rules.
Right.
You know, what is in the law. Again, 2431. The most important, as far as your questions are concerned, is Regulation 6 and 7.
6 and 7.
I will spend about some 3, 4, 5 minutes, break them down, and then we'll come to your question, who qualifies. Right. You see, once you are given an approval, some kind of a license, let me call it mineral right. A mineral right is kind of an approval authority authorization that allows you to explore for a mineral or mine it. Once that has been given to you, or you are registered to provide a support service, let's say supply explosives, or let's say do contract mining for a mining company, or you are given a license to deal in a mineral, let's say process tailings, or even export good. This law applies to you. Now, Regulation 6 says that you must give us your procurement plan. Procurement plan. Now, your procurement plan is for 5 years.
Which categories of mines does this law apply to, or it cuts across?
I'll come to that. Okay?
Right.
You must give us your procurement plan. It's 5 years. You don't just get up and do any plan. Now, when you are preparing your plan, you have to have regard to the items on the list. Okay? So if there are 41 items on the list, you have to tell us that, look, these ones I'll buy so much locally. These ones are import, and you have to give us the reasons. Some you have no choice, you have to buy it locally. And then we sign off. So if you tell me that this year I'll buy 80% of a particular item on the list locally, and you do 79, you have defaulted. Otherwise, you have to come to us in the course of the year and tell us why you cannot meet that 1% to make it 80, and give us the reasons, and maybe we'll ask you to import or change the rules. So first, anybody who has been given an authority or an approval to extract a mineral, mine a mineral, this law applies to you.
Anybody?
Any company.
Even community mining?
No, that's small scale.
Right.
I'm talking at large scale.
Okay.
Anybody who has been given a mining list to produce a mineral, mine it, you are bound by this law. any person or entity that has been given a mineral right to explore for a mineral, prospect, look for a mineral, you're also bound by this law. Now, anybody who has walked into the office of the Minerals Commission to register to provide any of the items on the list, maybe you want to do haulage, you want to provide catering services, you want to supply fuel to the mine, you want to get into explosives, this also applies to you. We will deal with registration as to the requirements at a different time. So to summarize, any person who has been issued with a mineral right to explore for a mineral or mine it, you are bound by this law. Any person who has been registered by the Minerals Commission to supply or procure any service, okay, on the list, this law is applicable. And then any other person who has been given any license to deal in a mineral, let's say you want to apply to process tailings or refine gold, this law applies to you. So these are the three categories. Now the law says that you are bound to procure goods and services with Ghanaian content. Ghanaian content. So come to the Minerals Commission, submit a plan, 5 years. When you are producing your plan, tell us the list here, which ones you intend to procure locally, which ones you want to import. There are some you cannot import, you have no choice, because we believe that we have capacity.
Among this 41?
Yes, we'll talk about that shortly. So you give us your plan. Now, if you do not submit your plan, the fine is CD equivalent of $10,000.
If you don't submit the plan?
If you don't submit your plan, CD equivalent of $10,000, first 6 months. After that, every day, $10,000. It's so punitive, you dare not. So almost all the producing mines have submitted their plans. So whether it's Newmont, Ahafo, Newmont, Achim, Angogo, Ashanti, Duaprim, Angogo, Ashanti, Obuasi, Chirano, all of them have submitted their plans to us. Now, the law says that Minerals Commission generate a list every year and then discuss it with the mining companies and then sign off. So this one, which is a fourth edition, the first edition was 2014, then we have the second edition 2015, then 2018. For some reason between 2018 and then now, we didn't do anything. So last year we came out with this new one.
So this is the fourth?
This is the fourth one. So towards the end of this year, maybe around October, November, we'll produce a new list. We'll call the industry, we'll discuss it with them, publish it in the papers, gazette it by January next year to take effect. Now the question is, what happens if a new list comes out? The law says give them the opportunity to amend their plans to capture the new items. Because until this year, before the 41 items came into force, we were having 29. So we practically added 12. And their plans were based on the 29. So once you have brought you have increased the items, then they are bound to revise their plans. We've had discussions with them. We've given them up to the end of this year to revise their plans to capture the 41. Because there are some areas that you can no longer give it to a foreigner or source from outside. So your current plan based on 29 cannot hold water. And then you don't rush them. So they have up to the end of this year to change their plans.
But is that not too disruptive to them?
It is not disruptive.
Because you're asking them to provide a 5-year procurement plan.
Yes.
And they've provided a plan on the basis of the items that you've given them. What if they've entered into supply agreements with companies for 2 years, 3 years?
So good question.
Yes.
So we are now saying that contract mining, if you look at the 2019 report, about $800 million was spent on contract mining. And then
a year. $800 million.
That is 2019. It's gone over $1 billion now. Okay. I'm talking about 2019 reports. Now, before this year, a foreigner can come to Ghana, register, and do contract mining for any of the mines. Okay, like AUMS from Australia or anybody, provided you meet our requirements. And then we sat down and we said, look, we have over 12 or so Ghanaian companies, shareholders and directors, 100% Ghanaian. They have the capacity, they've been doing it for some of the mines. So we think in our wisdom, to deepen local content, enhance local content, we decided to split contract mining into two. Open pit or surface operations and underground. We have about 7-8 underground mines. And now, effective this year, we are saying that anybody, any mining company Provided you're not going to do the mining yourself, you want to give it out for somebody to come and do the contract mining for you. Drill, blast, and then haul to the plant, etc. It has to be done by a company whose shareholders, all of them, and the directors are 100% Ghanaian. So then comes your question. Mm-hmm. So let's say as of last year or as of January this year, Company A has contracted Company B from Australia to do the contract mining open pit.
For 2 years.
How does it play out within this new directive? Mm-hmm. The question is that contract is grandfathered. Okay? Mm-hmm. So for instance, Newmont had a contract last year with a company. It was expiring this year. Clearly, even though this directive came this year, we said we are not tossing it out. But when it expires,
don't renew.
Give it. No, you cannot renew it and use the old entity. You have to give it to a Ghanaian. Or if it's underground, get the minimum 30% Ghanaian. The contract has expired. They are working on it. We've given it up to the end of the year now to follow the new directive. So all surface, what do you call it? All contracts, mining for surface operation that were signed before this year. Okay? The contracts are still in force. And then when they expire, you have to give it to a Ghanaian. So a lot are expiring this year. Okay. Some will expire in the course of the year, some next year. So they've started preparing and even doing adverts to take on the Ghanaian. Because you see the company, they work 24/7. So if the contract will expire in somewhere January next year, they are already preparing to do the tender. And they've all written to us, we've written to them. So that's how it is like. We can't, because if you do that, they will see the company. And then we also lose that. So all the items that are now to be done by Ghanaians, existing contracts will continue, then Ghanaians will come in. And most of them are a year, 2, 3 years. A lot are even expiring this year, and they are following it. The sanctions are very punitive. These are an area that the companies will not joke.
Well, what informs your inclusion of items into the list?
First, every year they submit reports. And then, they present a report on their operational expenditures. Maybe I've spent $50 million as my operational expenditures, $100 million. So much is imported, maybe plant, machine, and equipment, and then this is what goes into it. So we sit down, we have a research team, we look at the entire report and say, look, the companies are buying this particular item, but most of them come from outside. And it's so much. Is there a way these things can be done locally? And then the next question we ask ourselves is that, do we have companies that can do them locally? If we have, then we say, okay, 4, 5, 6, and it's so sweet or beautiful when you even have some of them already working in the mine. In fact, even if I have 3 companies, it's enough. And they're already working. And then we will now say, look, we think that we have the capacity to supply or produce. They can meet the standards because they're already working for you. And then they can also meet all the requirements as far as the laws are concerned. So effectively this year, we will not allow any company to bring in the item. So that's what we look. It's all capacity. It's all capacity. Again, let me refer to this, my 20 years mantra.
Yes.
I didn't know of any Ghanaian who could do contract mining.
20 years ago?
Oh, yes.
When you joined the commission?
When I joined the commission as a young lawyer, I started as an officer. So I know the architecture of the place and the industry very well. Okay, there was something like a Ghanaian who was doing contract mining. It was being done by companies from Australia. Okay, both underground and surface. And then what was happening was that they were employing Ghanaians. And then millions were. If you look at the items, by far out of the 41, the one with the one that is quite heavy is a contract mining. 2019 report, I'm talking about 800 million. Now we have crossed $1 billion. Then over the year, some Ghanaians... Dollars. There's nothing CD here. Okay? Some Ghanaians... I'm not talking about 800 million CDs. I'm talking about $800 million. Almost equivalent to direct and indirect taxes. You see, that is why local content and local participation is the game changer. When we do it very well, and then plus the ownership and the listing thing, that's why we are in here for a long haul. Almost whatever was spent on contract mining in 2019, just 12 producing mines, 12 companies. That time the items were 29. So let me repeat. It's important the public gets this very well. 29 items on the list as of 2018. Okay? And then at the end of 2019, which was based on the 29 items, we produced a report in 2020 of whatever was done in 2019.
Right.
And then it says that 12 companies spent about $800 million contract mining. Do you understand that? That is that, and then now we've moved from 29 to 41. Now the $800 million is equivalent to everything, direct and indirect taxes paid to the Republic.
Yes.
So if we are now saying that contract mining, open pit, should be done by Ghanaians, it is a huge thing. We've crossed $1 billion. The other 3-4 mines are coming up within a space of 2-3 years. Existing ones are expanding. Then there are redevelopments like Bibiani and Obuasi. So very soon we might get to 1.52 billion contract mining alone out of 41 items. And we are saying Ghanaians should do it.
And there are Ghanaian companies with expertise.
A lot of them, over 10 registered, they are doing it, no complaint. If you go to Chirano, there's a Ghanaian there. In fact, he's even doing a JV underground. You go to Obuasi, it is a JV, Ghanaian, 50-50, Rockshore. Okay? Yes. And then engineers and planners. They are all Ramos, Tonket. These are all Ghanaians. As far as I'm concerned, and I'm speaking with all the authority I have as the CEO of the Minerals Commission, no single mining company, including the likes of Newmont, the biggest gold producer in the entire universe, has come to me and complained that this Ghanaian company is not doing the job well. I have not received any complaint like that. Contract mining. Do you understand that? So the money will stay here. Okay? So we should not be, of course, the taxes, royalties, corporate tax, etc. We should not be. It's important. The Republic needs that for free HSS, social services, etc. But you see, somebody, I was shocked when somebody called me, and these are very educated people. Say, "Oh, we thought mining is they are in the bush somewhere, Chirano, Somachim area, or somewhere in the north. They just mine, destroy the forest, pay some small 3, 4, 5% royalties to government, and then if they make some money, they can decide to pay taxes." But when I started telling people that, look, even by allowing somebody to come and do the mining for you, it's over $1 billion, and that the money will stay here. So you see, those foreign companies that were doing the contract mining, we have kicked them out. Now, this $1 billion plus will stay here.
How do you ensure that we don't have Ghanaians fronting for
No, there's nothing like fronting.
How will
there's nothing like fronting. I mean, it's a serious matter. You can't front in this thing. Large scale, the companies will not do that. Their reputation is at stake. We are not talking about small scale or whatever. This is large scale. There's nothing like fronting. And of course, the law make provisions if it is investigated and then somebody for some reason tells that, look, Tonket actually is not the owner. It is some South African or some Canadian somewhere who will investigate. And the sanctions are serious, including sanctions on the company.
And it must be 100%.
Yes.
So a foreigner cannot even own 10%.
Let me tell you something.
Yes.
If you don't submit your plan, you are fined $10,000, CD equivalent. Our currency is CD, so I have to be very careful before the governor descends on me. After 6 months, every day, 10,000. Now, if you are supposed to procure an item locally and you don't, the law says that when we check, you pay full custom value of the item you imported. Okay, if you didn't procure locally. And then you also pay 5% penalty. Now, if it's a service, you pay 5% of the gross contract sum. We have fined them, and we have made a lot of money from this. I'm not happy, I'm not obsessed with that, but they have stopped now. There were a few breaches.
So they are compliant.
Oh, now they are complying. And trust me, Ghanaians are capable. You see all these over 12 mining companies who are doing contract mining alone. Even Ghanaians bring in expatriates where they think they need to, get more training or even up their game. And we approve it for them. That's how, look, the biggest gold mine in Ghana, okay, in Takwa, okay, it's a Ghanaian who is doing the contract mining. If you go to Obuasi underground, it's a Ghanaian. You go to Chirano, underground is a Ghanaian and then a foreign company. Now, even the underground, we said what? Minimum 30%. We'll revise the figure this year. So that is that. Again, if you look at the 2019 report, fuel supply is 282 million. 2019.
foreigners were supplying fuel. So the likes of Vivo, Total, foreign-owned entities. 65 years after independence, Total and Vivo, foreign companies will come here. And then petrol, ye bugu kamu, and lubricants to sell to a mining company. So the accounts will say, ye koye and na ye buy. I don't know whether we have a gun version. You are a gun. We have stopped that. So maybe next time when I come, I'll talk about the 2019 report, how much of the 280 million went to the foreign companies. So effective, what do you call it, the following year, we
2020.
Yes, we said no more. Okay? Now the figures I'm seeing, they've cost 300 million. Lubricants until last year were being done by foreign companies. Now we are saying it has to be done by a Ghanaian. I've seen the companies now doing the tender and bringing the Ghanaian. We've written to all of them because we have their plans. 2019, 17 million, fuel was 282. So 2019 alone, fuel and lubricants is $300 million. Okay? Foreigners were in this space. Now we are saying get out. Okay? Get out, and we are enforcing that. So I am so proud, the commission, we are so proud that now something that is close to about 400-500 million within a year or two now, Ghanaians are doing it. Supply of fuel, Randy, supply of fuel. We should allow foreigners to come and do that. And when we introduced this, they were fighting us.
Who?
The company said, no, we've been here all these years. I said, no, you can go into retail.
You didn't give them a period to face out.
Of course. Once a contract ended, that's it. That's it. So effective is done. So it's history now. We are not going back. Catering.
You act like a soldier.
No, I'm not acting like a soldier, but there are certain things we are, it's just the way we are carrying these small scale stories. People are mining forests, people are doing this. It's the same thing. Look, what even annoyed me was number 17, overalls and work clothes. Overall and work clothes. Atalina about na kaya chuni.
Like PPs.
Yes, about import. What is wrong with us? So we have stopped that one too. But yes, look at it. Catering. Catering services, $25 million, 2019.
$25 million
yes,
a year.
That's 2019 report.
Yes.
The companies are supposed to file a report every 6 months. So they do that.
So we could be crossing 30 now.
We have crossed, not that we will be crossing. Because you see, the existing ones are expanding. Okay? Then there are new ones coming up. And then there are also companies that were dormant and they are doing redevelopment. I mean, for the past 8 years, Bibiani mine was dead. It's back now. It's a big mine. They are going to provide catering services, fuel and all those things. So they are going to add to the list. Cardinal, Azuma, and then the lithium guys, everybody. So these are exciting. And actually, people didn't know all these things. That so much money can be made in catering. Nobody has complained that they've gotten food poisoning or they are not cooking properly. They are doing it, and anybody can get it.
Of course, there are standards.
Of course, there are. But if I go to the stand here and go and buy kinky, and I don't like the taste, I'll go to the next kinky joint. I mean, at the panettone, yeah, they'll kick you out. Maybe particular food, they are very particular. Okay, or the tailor, you cannot do anything. You may quarrel with him or pay him and get away. Another time you go to them. I mean, there are so many caterers in Ghana. So the competition is very serious. If you make a least mistake, they'll kick you out. Okay, there are a lot of damages, etc. I mean, there are about 1,000 workers in some of the mines far away from the nearest road or town. And you're supposed to come in there, set up. And then they even hire workers from the town. Every morning, buses pick the town because we have told them the people will be doing the serving. Hire them from the town. So if you run it today, you register with me, come set up a catering joint, and then you happen to win a bid with Newmont or Chirano. You cannot employ the people you are going to work with from outside. You can't bring them from Accra. Maybe 1 or 2 people, but then the 100 or 50 people that they are going to sell. So hire from the town. We insist the companies check. They file the report. So that early morning, take them. They will be at the mine there, properly attire, dressed. They go through all the protocols. They serve the breakfast. They will do everything. They come. It's like a whole chain. They do everything. Machine. They wash, prepare lunch, and then after that serve dinner, and then you take the workers back. Do you understand? And they eat everything. And food, people are particular. They will just say no, and yet if you're lucky, you get a warning, fine. The next thing is that they'll terminate your contract. For catering, they can easily terminate your contract. Or for you make a mistake or even you delay, the companies, I mean, the mining setup is so regimented. The slightest mistake, you cause them millions of dollars in damages. So they are very particular. So if you get a job or a contract with a mining company, you have to deliver. And I'm saying Ghanaians are on top of it. Again, haulage. Now, haulage is supposed to be done by Ghanaians. So you see these manganese for now, which are being sent to the port, the bauxite. We're taking steps to make sure that we refine them here. It has to be done by Ghanaian companies. So 2019, $82 million. Security until 2019 was being done by foreign companies. So you have companies coming from South Africa in particular coming here to set up.
But they are foreign security companies.
We have stopped
in Ghana.
them. No, they are foreign security companies
Registered
in Ghana. Yes, but we are saying that for the mining sector, you cannot employ a foreign company to provide security.
The shareholding must be 100%
yes,
Ghanaian.
Of course, there are so many of them there. They use a lot of security. I mean, you can't just enter a gold mine. It is a secure place. Very well secure, because even a gold, the tip of my thumb, is a lot of money. Very well secure. 2019, $17 million for what do you call it? Security services. Exclusive Ghanaian directors and shareholders. 17 million 2019. More mines are coming up. Okay? So security, we should allow foreigners to come and do it. You let the Ghanaian do it. If a Ghanaian needs certain gadgets or set up, look, all these machines and gadgets that we are using in this studio here, I think they are important.
Yes.
Yes. So let the Ghanaian also go and get
the human beings are Ghanaians.
Yes, the human beings are Ghanaians, the people they will employ, and even the setup. If he needs, don't come and tell me that, oh, he will need these strong cameras and all this, you can't get them here. No. The Ghanaian will give permission to the Ghanaian to import and do the setup. Even if he needs that South African or Canadian to come and do the installation and do training, we will allow that. But not a foreign company from South Africa to come and set up and take this money away. So you realize that all that the public knew is just these taxes and royalties. This is where the money is. Okay? So when we do every year we will increase. Okay? When we do it very well, and then we add the listing, that is the next thing we are targeting now. The framework is almost done now. So very soon we will launch an attack there. No attack in terms of war. I'll tell you why. All these years, all the millions of dollars that are being used to put up these mines are coming from outside. Macquarie Bank in Australia, some hedge funds somewhere, some pension funds somewhere, and they come and invest here. Let me give you a few statistics for the big 6 projects that are happening now. And you see the money that's involved. So you take Newmont. They are building a new mine. They call it Ahafo North. That's a little over $800 million. Bibiani is going to spend about $200 million to develop the mine. So between Bibiani and Ahafo North Newmont, that's $1 billion. Another $1 billion is being used by Minister to develop the underground mine in Wasa Chimpin. Okay, $1 billion. So I'm already talking about 2. Obuasi have started. They have almost spent about $1 billion. So we've entered $3 billion already. Cardinal needs about $800 million. We are not talking about CDC here. Cardinal needs about $600 million or $500 million to put up that mine within the next 2 years. They've started. And then Azuma equally 200. So Azuma and Cardinal alone, you're talking about 700 million. Do you understand that? And then other ones are also expanding. So within the space of 2, 3, 4 years, about $5 billion are to be pumped to do redevelopment, expansion, and new mines. Most of these monies are coming from outside. So this new law says that at least, okay, you must list 20% on the stock exchange.
The law you're working on?
The law is already in force.
Okay.
So we are working on it. So Asante Gold, for instance, raised a lot of money locally. Would that money go outside? No. Okay, so if we can raise close to $5 billion on the stock exchange, or through the kind of billions SNIT and Co are sitting on, and all these pensions and all those hedge funds, we can raise all this money, they give it to the mines and develop it. Then this $5 billion that will require within 3, 4, 5 years don't have to go outside. Because when they are going outside, they take everything out, you charge withholding tax, they have to pay shareholders. Okay? Yes. A lot. So the law now gives us that backing.
Okay.
One more thing. 2020, we are told by the Bank of Ghana that $14.4 billion was what we got from everything that we exported as a nation. Nearly $7 billion from minerals. Okay, $7 billion. So that's about, yes. So that's close to about 48% thereabout of our national assets, export coming from mining. Now, the law that just came into, for which you are implementing this or enforcing, it says 20% of your financial transactions must go through the local banks. We intend to increase this. So we are talking at the likes of Agriculture Development Bank, we're talking at the likes of National Investment Bank, we're talking about the likes of Car Bank, etc. So if you are talking about 7 billion, very soon we'll hit $10 billion industry. And we are now saying 30-40% of whatever money they repatriate. Because last year also they brought about $4 billion back. So if we now say maybe 30 or 40% of that should go to the Ghanaian-owned banks. Randy, do you know what that means? So it's all about local content, local content, local content. Get into these services. Let's raise the money here. Let's do it. For us, we'll do our part. We'll do the education. When we come next week, we'll do the small scale thing.
Okay.
Very well. And then the other week, we'll now look at what are the requirements. So you or my sister sitting across there, if I want to get into catering, if I want to supply fuel, if I want to do lubricants, I want to do explosives. What are the requirements? What are the steps that I need to go through? I will explain all that. By the way, 2019, $100 million was spent on explosives. This figure will double or triple because the DNA of mining is explosives. No explosives, no mining.
Right.
So I would like to draw the curtain here, unless you have any other questions.
So thank you, Mr. Kukwe. Ayisi. We ran past our time. It's always exciting having this conversation with you, and it makes me try to forgive all the things that I've said.
Have you been learning anything anyway?
A lot.
Yes.
A lot.
So did you know that
a lot of
there
opportunities?
Did you know that there were billions of dollars to be made? You didn't know.
I only knew about contract mining.
Yes.
Because of engineers and planners.
Yes, and then you knew about taxes and royalties.
Yes.
But you didn't know that there is so much. Much involved here.
I have no idea.
So when I tell you that if you stop mining in this country, you are shutting down the country, you now believe it. No mining, no Ghana. But we have to do it well.
Minus Aisha Huange, the likes. We will be fine.
Give us their information, give us their call. Yes.
Okay. So that'll be, so I'll see you next Thursday.
Yes. Yes.
Enjoy the rest of the week and the weekend.
All right.
We are off to